Hello, everybody. You get to see the whole Healing Touch crew on Facebook Lives today. Lindy and Abby were on, Tiff was on earlier, and now you get me. I wanted to get on today and talk about autism. So, as pediatric chiropractors, Dr. Tiffany and I see a whole lot of not just kids, but people from all different places. And so one area of the population that we see in our office is kids who have been diagnosed with autism. All right. And so a lot of people might be wondering, how the heck is chiropractic related to autism? How can chiropractic help with autism? All right. So if you know anything about autism, you know that the nervous system is greatly affected with this disorder. And so a lot of the challenges that we see with autism are directly related to that. Hyperactivity, sleep issues, digestive issues, attention, social awkwardness, sensory processing, some of those things. And the nervous system is so closely linked to the immune system, the digestive system, that we also see symptoms in those areas. Bowel and bladder control problems, constipation, or on the other end, diarrhea, autoimmune, things like that. And where we really see it start, we see it starting at birth, honestly, okay? And you might be wondering, what? So, biggest common denominator we see in kiddos that are hyperactive, have that diagnosis of autism, sensory processing, that stuff, is traumatic birth injury. Okay, so for many of these kids, the nervous system is injured, not even at birth. Sometimes it starts even beforehand. If there's any sort of constraint, if there's breech or transverse positioning, if mom has a crappy diet or is on a ton of meds, or is just in a constant hamster wheel of stress herself, that puts baby in utero into that stress response, okay? And so I was actually at a seminar, this was maybe a year and a half ago, and the speaker was a chiropractor, and she had attended a different seminar with a variety of different health professionals. And the speaker at the conference she was attending had said that there was a hospital, I believe it was in Texas, that their goal was actually to have a 90% plus C-section rate. That's what they wanted. They wanted all of their births to be scheduled and able to be micromanaged. All right. Even the World Health Organization, which hasn't always been the most understanding and supportive of chiropractic, even they say that a C-section is necessary in 10 to 15%. Most hospitals where they're sitting at ranges anywhere between 30 to 50%. All right. And even not even just with C-sections. So most vaginal deliveries these days are even augmented. They're induced. We use vacuums or forceps, or there's the pushing part of labor is either too short or too long. So all of those things push our body into that stress response. All right. They push us into what's called fight or flight. The problem is that most health professionals, so you go to the hospital and you have a birth, and your medical doctor is not trained to check for those things. They're just not trained to. The only people on this planet trained to check for those sorts of injuries are a pediatric chiropractor. All right. So you might be wondering, what's the big deal with the traumatic birth injury besides the name of it just sounds awful? But like we just went over, even a vaginal birth, which doesn't sound traumatic or scary, can actually have implications. So once we have a traumatic birth injury, it can actually start affecting not just the brain, but the spinal cord and the spinal nerves. And what that means is the communication from the brain to the body is interrupted. And so a lot of the challenges challenges that we see, like the hyperactivity, the sleeping, the social, the challenges with learning, all of those symptoms are because that body and brain are not connected, okay? The system is literally stuck in fight or flight. And so when our body is stuck in that system, because like I was talking, think of, are you going to be able to see a triangle if I do this? Like 1 point, 2 point, 3. Okay, think of your nervous system and your immune system and your digestive system like a triangle, all right? I apologize that I don't have a visual and I won't do that with my fingers. So when our nervous system is stuck in that fight or flight, that becomes a priority. And so those other two systems, the digestive system, the immune system, those get downregulated, which means the body isn't putting as much energy, enough resources into those things. So things like moving food, bowel constriction, cramping, even having a bowel movement, those things gets hard. Our body doesn't break down foods like it needs to. Our immune response, that also isn't important at the point when we're in that stress, fight or flight response. And so we see a lot of allergies, eczema, autoimmune stuff, okay? And the cycle just continues. It just feeds itself, because when we're stuck in that fight or flight, we're going to downregulate the immune, downregulate the digestive system, and put all of our energy into the stressed out nervous system, all right? So with chiropractic, what we can do is we actually work not just with we're not trying to fix your hyperactive kid. We are not saying that we cure autism. That's not at all what we do. What we do is we pump the brakes on a pedal to the floor nervous system, all right? So when we do that, we see changes that come naturally. We see differences in behavior, differences in learning, differences in social awareness, differences in immune, all of that stuff. And the sooner we get that nervous system taken care of, the better off that we are. I have where did I put it? So this is actually a story that a mom had shared. She and her son started care with us. It will be 2 years this September. And so I'm just going to read it to you. I apologize that I don't have it memorized, but it's a really good one. So we had always known that Zai was going to be hyperactive. From the moment he started walking, he didn't sit still unless he was sleeping. Everyone always told us that's how boys are. Zai had his first seizure at the age of 6 months and regularly had around 2 a year for the next couple of years. Since he had an older sister already diagnosed with epilepsy, we had him tested several times, results showing normal. When Zai was around the age of 3, he was put on medicine to help control the seizures. Even on meds, he continued to have 1 or 2 breakthroughs each year, so his daily dose kept increasing and increasing. Around the age, and as a parent, of course, that's what the doctors are saying, that's what'll help, or they think will help, all right? Around the age of 3, we also noticed Zai would get frustrated very easily. When a toy would fall over, his world would end. These frustrations carried over to daycare, and the behavior issues kept tracking worse. So we brought in a behaviorist and occupational therapy several days a week. Zai was on track and could explain exactly what he needed to do if he started to feel frustrated. However, when his emotions took over, he wasn't able to communicate effectively or use his skills that he was taught. Eventually, we moved Zai from a large group daycare and preschool to small group, and he thrived with no issues. We were so excited for Zai to start kindergarten. However, at one point at the beginning of the year, he was only in his classroom for 5 minutes a day. That's when I happened to stumble upon a video of Dr. Tiffany talking about epilepsy and behavioral issues on one of the local news stations. I was intrigued and immediately set up an appointment. We were on our last hope, and there wasn't much more the schools could do for our son. Dr. Tiffany immediately got Zai started with care, and along with medicine, his epilepsy and ADHD, we added this around the same time as the chiropractor. He did a complete 180. He was back in the classroom and having fabulous days at school. After 15 months of continuous visits to Dr. Tiffany, we decided to take a break in December 2017. We took a trip, and Zai missed a few days of school. When he returned, he had regressed back and was no longer in the classroom and visiting the principal often. His teacher was stunned. We chalked it up to being out of school. A second week back at school, still not better. Finally, we realized that his issues started up after we quit care. We got him back in, and the improvements were immediate. He was back in the classroom. He can make appropriate choices and voice his thoughts without getting frustrated. We are very lucky to have found Dr. Tiffany and her staff. Without them, Zai wouldn't be as successful as he is now, and I doubt he would be in his regular classroom learning with the other first graders. We will be forever grateful. This is the exact reason, people, why if your child was diagnosed or has been diagnosed with autism or sensory processing or ADHD, you want to first and foremost get them to a pediatric chiropractor. They are the only people who are going to be able to address that stressed out nervous system. Each adjustment is going to pump the brakes little by little. And so with consistent care, we're going to see a lot of positive changes, and not just with the hyperactivity, the behavior. It's going to be sleep, it's food, it's all of it. It's awesome. And so I hope you learned a little bit today, and if you know a family affected by autism, ADHD, we'd love to connect. Thanks so much.